Swords is about relying on facts so that you can make good decisions as you embark on a new venture. Please join me and learn how to interpret this card when it shows up in a reading. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Allen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we'll be learning the tarot deck one card at a time. Today's video is about the Ace of Swords. This video will begin with a short description of the card. Next, I'll briefly explain what the card means when it appears in a reading. Then we'll talk about what each element symbolizes and what the card means when it shows up in both the upright and reversed position in a reading. I'll share some examples from my life so you can relate to the card in a real-world situation. And stay tuned until the end and I'll give you some questions to help you connect with the card. I will be using the Rider-Waite Tarot in this video. You'll find the link to the deck below, as well as to the many books that I've used in my research. So let's get started. In the Ace of Swords, we see a white right hand with a white aura reaching out from gray clouds. The hand is holding a blue and white sword. The sword has a double-edged blade, which means that it can cut in both directions. On top of the sword is a gold crown that is decorated with 9 red gemstones. The crown has 4 points. There is an olive branch on the left side of the crown and a palm branch on the right. Just above the base of the sword are 6 gold droplets. The sky is gray. At the bottom of the card, we see blue and purple mountains. When this card appears in a reading, it means that you are being given the gift of clear, logical thought. This allows you to be objective and do things like cut through confusion so that you can see the truth. It is a card about being as honest with yourself as possible so that you make the best possible decisions. It's a just the facts, ma'am, kind of mentality. These are people who make decisions based on spreadsheets and not gut feelings. Given the reliance on facts and not feelings, it's not surprising that the Ace of Swords is associated with justice and discovering the truth. The Ace of Swords invites you to cut away thoughts and beliefs that are no longer needed in your life. The Ace of Swords is associated with mental sharpness, clear thinking, and expressing yourself with words. Think of the expression that the pen is mightier than the sword. You can communicate by slashing someone with a sword or writing a letter to the editor. A sword cuts both ways, so there are positives and negatives to this card. It can indicate the start of a new idea or the start of a conflict. You may be facing a new opportunity or a new challenge. When you cut to the truth, it can either show that you are right or show that you are wrong. Finally, the Ace of Swords can represent people or situations that use sharp objects. This might be a surgeon, chef, acupuncturist, tattoo artist, or seamstress. Let's talk about the symbolism in this card. The sword is held in the right hand, which represents the logical, rational mind. This is also the hand of giving. The left hand is the hand of receiving, which means that you are getting a gift from spirit. The hand is not flesh-colored as we would expect. It is white, as is the aura, which indicates that it is a gift from spirit. Most of the sword is a cold blue color, which indicates that the sword's only interest is cold, unyielding facts. The white portion represents purity and purification. The point of the sword is standing straight up. It's interesting that there are only 2 other swords in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that point straight up. That is the Queen of Swords and Justice. This position signifies the commitment to truth rather than what we might want to believe to be true. On top of the sword, we see a gold crown. Crowns are all about authority and power, as well as conscious ideas that we are ready to put into actions. Crowns also signify the success that most of us would like to achieve in life. I mean, thanks to Disney, all little girls want to grow up to be princesses, right? The 4 points on the crown represent the elements of air, fire, water, and pentacles. The tip of the sword through the crown represents the fifth element, which is the quintessence, which is basically spirit. The red gemstones on the crown represent powerful thoughts. The 9 red gemstones can link to the 9 of swords, which show what will happen as we complete this journey. It can also link to card number 9, the Hermit, which is another card that shows the importance of focusing on our thoughts. The living plants on the crown symbolize the fertility of the mind. The olive branch on the left symbolizes peace and reconciliation. You've likely heard the expression to extend an olive branch, which means to make peace with somebody. The palm branch on the right symbolizes peace and also suffering. If you grew up Christian, as I did, you'll be familiar with the story of Palm Sunday, when Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey and his followers spread palm branches at his feet. The 6 gold droplets, called yods, correspond to the 3rd letter in the Hebrew name for God. The gray sky is the color of neutrality. The blue and purple mountains at the bottom of the card appear to be bleak and very far away. Blue represents balance and purple represents nobility and spirituality. Mountains are a sign of obstacles, so this experience might be a rocky one. The distance of the hand above the mountains shows that we possess some level of divine insight into what's going on down in the earthly realm. When the Ace of Swords appears in an upright position, it could symbolize that you've come up with a new idea. An example was when Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876. The phone is a great example since the swords are all about communication. And as a side note, Alexander Graham Bell worked as a speech and hearing expert and taught at the Boston School for the Deaf. I didn't know that his wife and his mother were both deaf. The Ace of Swords can represent a new beginning that requires clear, focused thinking, logical decision-making, and possibly swift action. An example would be that you're working for a pharmaceutical company and looking for a cure for some kind of disease. The Ace of Swords can represent a sudden moment of clarity. I'm not a big fan of mysteries, but I usually watch Columbo reruns when I visit my parents. There's usually a moment of clarity. For instance, Columbo will see someone winding a clock while they're receiving news of a brutal crime, and he realizes that it's inconsistent with how an innocent man would act. That moment of clarity makes everything else fall into place. The upright Ace of Swords can represent the need to clearly communicate your ideas. This card tells you to examine a situation objectively. Your goal is to use logic and not emotions to make decisions. I have a degree in accounting, and this is what we were taught, essentially that numbers don't lie. You don't buy a building because you have a good feeling about it or like the landscaping. You do all sorts of calculations to prove that it's a good investment. Another meaning of the Ace of Swords is that it's time to cut something out of your life. It might be something external like a romantic partner, a project, or your job. Or it might be something internal such as a belief about yourself that is no longer serving you. I actually did this when I started studying tarot. I had to essentially cut away some big religious beliefs that tarot was created by the devil, which of course is not true. It can also mean that you might need to fight for what you believe in. As I said earlier, swords are two-sided, so confrontation is almost baked into this card. Not only do you want to fight, you want to win. Finally, the Ace of Swords can be about seeking justice. This card is all about pursuing the truth. The best example I can think of for the upright Ace of Swords is about a new project that requires great intellectual focus. That is the creation of the COVID vaccines. At least 3 companies went from identifying the new pathogen to creating a vaccine in less than 12 months. The previous record was the development of the mumps vaccine back in the 1960s, which took 4 years. Despite being ridiculously careful and fully vaccinated, I got COVID twice in 2023 and was extremely ill. Without being vaccinated, I would have been hospitalized for sure. I am grateful to everyone involved in this swift and focused project. When the Ace of Swords appears in a reversed position, it can signify that you feel like you're not as smart as other people or generally lack self-confidence. It can mean that you are intimidated by more dominant personalities. This is certainly true for me. It can also mean that your judgment is clouded, you are confused, or you find it hard to think clearly. The reversed ace could mean that you are involved in a battle of wills, a conflict, or a legal situation that you cannot win. That you have difficulty expressing yourself, or that other people are having trouble understanding what you have to say. Another meaning is that you, or people surrounding you, are being brutalized by people with more power. Sadly, this happens a lot with social media these days, where it is used to isolate and bully people, rather than what it was intended for, which in my world is sharing pictures of quilts and a daily reminder that I don't have any grandchildren. Finally, the Ace of Swords can represent impotency. Here's an example of the reversed Ace of Swords from my life. This is an example of being involved in a battle of wills that you cannot win. One of my local friends has been involved in a multi-year battle with her neighbor over parking. They share a driveway with their next-door neighbor, who has a very large truck. The neighbor parks in the driveway and takes up so much room that my friend cannot park in her driveway and has to park on the street. They have tried everything legal that they know of. Basically, the town doesn't care, and the neighbor is a complete jerk. Every once in a while, she'll post a photo on Facebook, and I don't know how she's managed not to kill him. She is engaged in a battle that she cannot win. Here are some questions to help you connect with the Ace of Swords. Are you clear of what you want in life? Have you ever experienced a eureka moment or gift from the divine? What happened next? Do you need to cut away any thoughts or beliefs that are no longer serving you? How are your analytical skills? Do you make decisions with your head or your heart? How are your communication skills? Do people understand what you're telling them? Are you involved in a conflict that you cannot win? And is it time to lay down your sword? So I hope that this video has given you a good look into the Ace of Swords. Please join me for the next video, which is the Two of Swords.